Good morning, everybody, and a happy Thursday morning to you. Another really long video. We have a lot of royal family news. We have some updates on the Beckham story. Yes, he's been proven to be a liar. Go figure. And then we have some updates on what's going on in Harry's court case. Lots of news. Let's jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off this morning with King Charles and Queen Camilla, who sent a statement to Spain's King Philippe about how shocked and saddened they were. There was a train crash in southern Spain that has killed 41 people. So the country has just begun 3 days of mourning as emergency crews were pulling bodies from the wreckage. It's horrible. All right, let's move on now to William and Catherine. They were extremely busy. We know that while Harry was in court whining and crying, William and Catherine were out doing some really good stuff. They had a full day of engagements in Scotland. Now, I'm not sure that these will be in the correct order, but I'm going to do my very best. So their very first stop was at Scotland's National Curling Centre at the Peak in Stirling. Now, of course, when they showed up, there were a lot of people. I have to take the sound out of the videos for copyright purposes, but they walked into this inner sanctum area and the roar that went up from the crowd, "Woo, William, Catherine!" And of course, what did Catherine do? She went right for the children. So Catherine stopped to talk to this one little girl in the pink jacket, and you can just tell this is why children just gravitate to her. She actually engaged this child in conversation, and it went so well. The little girl was totally entranced by everything Catherine was saying. And when this was over, they were then shown into the area where the ice was. So what do you have to do? Well, first of all, you have to greet everybody. Then you have to get a lesson on how to actually curl. So William got the very first lesson, and he made an attempt. Let me just say that. But he actually didn't do badly. The guy on the right was telling him where to put his feet, what to do, and William pushed off. And I have to tell you, I always thought curling looked easy, but after watching William and Catherine attempt it, I realized it's actually a lot harder than you think it is. Then at another point, it was Catherine's turn to take a try. Now, for those who don't know, curling, its roots go back to the 16th century in Scotland, and it has become one of Team Great Britain and Paralympics Great Britain's most successful winter sports, earning 6 Olympic medals and 2 Paralympic medals to date. Now, this National Curling Academy opened in August of 2017 in the run-up to the 2018 Winter Olympics. And it provides a dedicated curling facility for British curling athletes. And it gives them round-the-year access to high-quality ice, which was not previously available in the UK. Now, you guys have to know that these guys are really competitive. So here they are taking their shots. They're going to see how they go. And the first thing you see is William taking his shot. And then you see Catherine taking her shot. And she did much better the second time around than she did the first time around. And I bet you can guess who won. That's right. When they actually had to turn it, Catherine beat William. Is anybody surprised by that? And is anybody surprised that Catherine was all excited? These two are so competitive. This reminded me of when she beat William in the spinning competition while wearing a skirt in South Wales back in February of 2023. I mean, these two were so passionate about sport and fitness. And of course, they've instilled all that in George, Charlotte, and Louis. Now, they had no problem lining up for all the initial selfies and pictures, that everybody wanted to take with them inside the facility. I have to tell you, seeing as all they got was a 5-minute demonstration and instruction, I think they both did really well. By the way, those guys in the front that were sweeping, they're actually called sweepers. Then the two of them headed off to their next stop. Catherine and William at that point headed off to Radical Weavers, which is a hand-weaving studio and charity in Stirling in the city center. Now, of course, when they arrived, again, the crowds, everybody, William, Catherine, over here, they shook a lot of hands and they took a lot of selfies. Now, while they were in Radical Weavers, they learned about the traditional tartan weaving. Catherine tried her hand at a loom to help contribute to a giant communal scarf, which is supporting the charity's work in combating social isolation and trauma. The two of them engaged with the charity's therapeutic weaving programs, and William supported his wife as she used the loom, I guess is what you call it, by holding her coat. That's what a man should be doing. I'm just kidding, you guys. Anyway, this highlights British textiles and traditional crafts. This tartan scarf that they're doing, by the way, is going to be record-breaking 3 kilometers long, and it's intended to raise funds for the Tartan Center. Now, in case you also didn't catch it, Princess Catherine, was wearing a Chris Care coat woven by Johnson's of Elgin. On their way out, they were once again met by lots of crowds and they had to stop, shake hands. Catherine, of course, gravitated to the babies. They took pictures, they took selfies, the typical stuff that you do. Before they headed on to their last event of the day, so that it was a total of 3 that they did while they were in Scotland, they then went and visited a village pub to discuss the importance of community-run facilities. The Gothenburg, known locally as the Goth, is a community-run pub in Fallen, which is a former mining village near Stirling in Scotland. They met the owner of the pub who took it over in 2013, and William spoke about community value. Now, let me just tell you, as they were leaving the pub, they got heckled, which I thought was terrible because they got heckled in front of children. It was just one person, and the crowd around the person told the guy to shut up and go away, which I'm glad they did. What do you expect William to say about what happened with Andrew? There's nothing more to say. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us Catherine's outfit. Let's move on. All right, we're going to go back to the Duchess of Edinburgh, Sophie, Secret Weapon Sophie. I told you the other day that she visited Sparkle Sheffield, but there were no pictures while Andrew was at the skating center. Well, they put up a video. So these are all the pictures that there are. But this is a charity that supports children and young people from birth to age 25 with autism spectrum conditions and other social communication difficulties. I'm not sure I understand why this visit wasn't covered by the media. There's a lot that she does that isn't covered, and it irritates me to no end because she's fabulous. So, all right, let's move on. All right, I want to move on to Andrew. Believe it or not, Marsh Farms, where he's moving, is on a floodplain, and residents have been advised to sign up for flood alerts in case local measures fail. So his potential new home has been flagged as part of a flooding risk. My goodness. The problem is the pumping station, which drains marshland. It apparently had a mechanical breakdown, and they're worried it could happen again. All right, let's move on. All right, moving on, we have to discuss what's going on with the Beckhams. I think Brooklyn is stupid. He's like Harry. He doesn't think that, main people could look up and point out his lies, which we now have. So one of the things that he said in that statement that I told you about yesterday is that his mom canceled making the dress at the 11th hour, leaving Nicola scrambling to find a dress. Well, come to find out, that's not true. She wore a custom frock that was a year in the making. She flew to Valentino's headquarters in Rome twice to oversee the design. It was the ultimate couture experience. So no, that's a lie what he said. Now, another claim that was made by Brooklyn Beckham was that his mother, Victoria, hijacked his first dance to Nicola and danced very inappropriately on him, and he was uncomfortable and humiliated. And one of the wedding guests, Stavros Agapio, has spoken out saying, "We witnessed it. This was completely inappropriate." This man is a partner of British DJ Fat Tony, who was asked to perform at the reception. He said, "I was there, and she did. He's telling the truth." Of course, as I reported to you back when this happened, and again today, this was not their very first dance. What was reported at the time was Mark Anthony took to the stage to perform, and Anthony was supposed to introduce the couple who would then dance on a specially built stage. It was meant to be supposedly this big romantic first dance, and it was predetermined. So let's go back. Mark Anthony called Brooklyn up to dance with the most beautiful woman in the room and then announced Victoria. Well, that upset the bride, who then ran from the room crying. Later found out it was a family dance. Harper was up there, and so was David Beckham. But guess what? It wasn't their first dance. This was their first dance. And I reported that to you, whenever these two got married and I was covering the wedding. So while all of this is going on, it's being said that Victoria is being left absolutely heartbroken by what Brooklyn has said and done. She was literally on the floor, shocked to pieces that her son would say such untrue and unkind things about her. And then to top it off, what she's really upset about, which I would be upset too, is she's been made into memes. There's a ton of memes going around. Essentially, she's been made into a joke. Well, let me tell you, a lot of memes were made by Twitter users, and I can't name them all, but enjoy them. A lot of them came from that one. Everybody wants in on this. They want to get their points out. So what happened next? Well, Justin Anderson, Nicola Peltz's ex-hairstylist, said that she was a bad apple and one of the worst people he had ever worked with. On his Instagram stories, he said that he, quote, perked up when he saw that Nicola and Brooklyn were getting married. I'm like, oh gosh, this is not going to be good for that family. Spooky energy. I don't even feel bad saying that. When someone is not nice, it always comes out. You can't hide it. I don't know what to think about this. He said, everybody knows how close the Beckham family really is. Okay, let's continue. Well, the question is, why is he doing this now? And it's come out in this article that for many years, a lot of people have criticized the Beckhams, individuals who were part of David and Victoria's circle, former employees. Others knew them from different walks of life. And sometimes those criticisms have been unpleasant because, let's face it, David and Victoria are ambitious A-list superstars, and they're not always perfect in how they conduct themselves. But the one thing their critics agree on is that they are brilliant, loving parents who would do anything for their children. They were besotted with Brooklyn from the day he was born, and all they ever wanted to do was give him the best start that they could in life. Now, this writer says she's come to know how much the Beckhams loved Brooklyn over the years because when stories would come her way that didn't paint him in good lights, he's with the wrong crowd, there were kiss and tells. On every occasion when she put these stories to the Beckhams camp, their PR machine leapt into overdrive in Brooklyn's defense, on occasions instructing expensive lawyers to protect him. Now, Brooklyn seems to have forgotten everything his parents ever did for him. For those of you who don't know, this feud with Brooklyn and his wife really started last May. That was when David was having his 50th birthday party, which they refused to attend. Instead, we found out Brooklyn, as a spoiled brat, wanted his own special quality time with Dad. And if Brooklyn and his wife think that post that they put up will help their public image, they are sadly deluded. It is proof of what many have been saying, that they are nothing but a pair of overindulged Nepo babies who haven't quite got their own way and are hitting back. David and Victoria found out about this really nasty post when it went live. For those of you who don't know, Brooklyn and his wife just parted ways with their publicist, and the publicist became frustrated with them because they were apparently determined to goad David and Victoria, and he was trying to save them from themselves by advising them to rein it in. It's no secret that the Beckhams are blaming this feud on Nicola, but that's parental concern because he changed since he met her. And as to who actually wrote that post, It's fair to suggest it wasn't Brooklyn alone because it's way too sophisticated. Of course, the wider family is upset. The brothers, Romeo and Cruz, and the sister Harper. I just don't see a good ending for this. Last year, Victoria Beckham put up this post, "Happy birthday, we love you so much." And then this video popped up of the whole family on vacation, obviously someplace tropical, and you've got the two of them dancing together. I mean, I just don't understand how it got this bad, and it wouldn't have gotten this bad. I'm sorry. Your son has been taken over. Trust me on this one, guys. Please believe me on this one. I can totally see why he thinks the sun and moon fall on this woman. All right, it's time to move on to our Harry, Meghan stuff. To start with, this Twitter user found this article from Germany. I went ahead and translated it for you. But basically what it comes down to is they're saying that Harry is not good for Invictus. He needs to get out of there. That being a polarizing figure isn't going well. I happen to agree. Now, we knew that Chelsea Davy was going to come up, the one that got away from Harry. He's really his one true love. And in court, they heard all about her. Harry's attorney shows an email that includes information about a flight that Chelsea Davy took in 2007 with her seat number, her travel plans, and her flight times. And supposedly, Rebecca English of the Daily Mail used an investigator, Mike Bayer, to get this information. Mr. Sherborne then claimed that there was no way anyone reading that email could have thought that the information was obtained legally. And a later email exchange was then shown between Miss English and Mr. Bayer from 2013. And in it, Mr. Bayer shares the flight details of Prince Harry. Now, supposedly, Rebecca English acknowledged this, and Sherborne then told the court, quote, "She knows perfectly well what he's doing," referring to the blagging by Mr. Bayer. Sherborne noted that Prince Harry traveled using a pseudonym that would have made it much harder to find any information about his travel plans. According to Mr. Sherborne, this article published in January of 2010 had granular details about Harry's plans with Chelsea and even Harry's preferences as to where he likes to spend the night. Also, Harry gave her a set of keys while they navigated their long-term relationship. But Harry's evidence, according to him, is absolutely firm, and he insists only a close friend of his or Miss Davies would have known the private information and would never have betrayed their confidence. Katie Nichols, FYI, wrote that article, and the court heard that her evidence was her notebooks indicated she obtained the minute details from a man named Garth Gibbs. Well, Mr. Sherborne said that the South African-born Gibbs, who died a year after the article was published, was not a member of the royal family or some young aristocratic socialite. He was living alone in semi-retirement on the Isle of Wight, and he had a cat as a companion, and it was implausible that he would have supplied the level of information. Actually, that's not implausible. If somebody from Chelsea's family was friends with this person and fed the information, I'm telling you, it's not going well in court. In the meantime, everybody's still talking about a possible reconciliation, and what it comes down to is these articles are pointing out if Harry does want to reconnect with his loved ones, frankly speaking, it's not rocket science. He has to drop the litigation and repair the damage from leaving the firm. Now, these articles are pointing out that it's very telling that Harry, the self-confessed dragon slayer, remains focused on fighting the press and the government, who he feels has wronged him at every turn. But yet he calls for reconciliation with his family after years of taking aim at them for conceived mistreatment and lack of support. And his calls are going to go unanswered because he can't stop attacking his father's government. Harry needs a renewed focus away from the expensive and controversial litigation and his refusal to accept the decision of the king's government, and maybe instead decide to concentrate to try to repair all the damage he did since he decided to leave the country while he's running around telling people he was forced out of the country. And really quick, talking about Meghan, they're saying that if she does come back to the UK, she absolutely will bring the children, not so they can reconnect, but they will be a shield to protect her from the backlash, because who's going to throw things or yell nasty things at her when the children are right there? If I were her, I would not bank on that. Not after what happened to William with Andrew. She better be prepared. All right, you know what I want, you guys. Put your comments down, make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then you're going to go down into the description box where you're going to find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my second channel, a link to my father's book, which is up for sale on Amazon, a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.